The blue light of distant stars filtered through the viewport as Vora watched Earth grow larger in the distance. Her silver skin reflected the glow, creating tiny rainbows across her quarters. She had traveled across 12 galaxies, but nothing prepared her for the sight of the blue planet. The reports about humans fascinated her. These creatures were so young in the cosmic scale, yet they had achieved so much. Vora belonged to the Astrian people, an ancient race that had explored the universe for millennia. They were tall, elegant beings with silver skin and eyes that held the colors of nebulas. Their technology was beyond comprehension to most species, and humans would likely see it as magic. But the Astrian Council had decided it was time to make contact with Earth. Human resilience and creativity had caught their attention. The ship hummed softly as it entered Earth orbit. Vora prepared herself for the meeting. She wore simple garments that would not overwhelm the humans, though. Her natural glow would be impossible to hide. Her long fingers traced the symbols on her translator device. It had been programmed with all human languages, though she had personally studied English for this mission. Captain Laura Bennett stood at the landing zone with a small group of military and scientific personnel. When the first signals from the alien craft had reached Earth 3 months ago, panic had spread across the planet. But as communications continued, humans realized this was a peaceful contact. Laura had been chosen to lead the welcome team because of her calm demeanor and diplomatic experience. Still, her heart raced as the silver vessel descended through the clouds. The ship landed without a sound. No engines, no wind, no disturbance of any kind. It simply appeared to lower itself gently onto the designated area. Laura took a deep breath and stepped forward. This moment would change human history forever. When the doorway appeared in the seamless hull of the craft, Laura gasped. There were no mechanical parts, no sliding door, just a sudden opening in the metal as if the ship itself was alive. Light poured from the opening and a tall figure emerged. Vora stepped onto Earth soil for the first time. The gravity felt strange but not uncomfortable. Her senses absorbed everything. The smell of plants, the sound of wind, the feel of sunlight directly on her skin without filtration. She focused on the human woman standing before her. This would be Captain Laura Bennett, according to the information provided. Laura looked up at the alien visitor. The being stood nearly 7 feet tall with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Its face was humanoid, with large eyes that shifted colors, like oil on water. It had no visible hair, and its features were delicate, almost fragile-looking. Despite its strange appearance, Laura found something oddly familiar about the alien. Vora spoke first her translator, converting her musical language to English. Greetings, Captain Laura Bennett. I am Vora, ambassador of the Astrian people. We come in peace and friendship. The translator worked perfectly, but the sound of her natural voice made several humans step back. It was like hearing wind chimes and whale songs combined. Laura maintained her position, though her eyes widened. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Vora. Laura replied, We are honored by your visit and look forward to peaceful exchange between our worlds. The formal greetings, complete, Vora was escorted to the facility prepared for the diplomatic mission. Humans stared as she walked past, some with fear, others with wonder. She understood their reaction. The Astrians had encountered many species in their explorations, and first contact was always difficult. Laura showed Vora to her quarters, a spacious room modified according to the specifications sent ahead by the alien ship. The temperature was cooler than humans preferred, and the lighting dimmed to match Astrian comfort levels. Will this be suitable, Ambassador? Laura asked, watching as Vora examined the space. It is perfect, Captain. Thank you for your consideration. Vora turned her color-shifting eyes to the human. This was the first extended conversation between their species, a historic moment. Laura felt the weight of the situation but tried to remain professional. Is there anything else you require before our formal meeting tomorrow? Vora considered the question. I would very much like to see your sky at night without barriers, if possible. On my world, we have 3 moons, and the night is never truly dark. I am curious about Earth stars seen from your perspective. Laura smiled. It was such an unexpected request, so personal, rather than diplomatic. Of course, we have a rooftop. Observation area I can show you after dinner if you would like. That evening they stood on the roof of the facility. The security team maintained a discreet distance as Laura pointed out constellations. Vora listened with interest, comparing the human stories about star patterns to the knowledge her people had gathered by visiting those same stars. Your people create stories about the stars without having been there, Vora said. There is beauty in that. To see patterns and meaning from a distance. Laura nodded. We dream about what we cannot reach. It drives us forward. Vora turned to study the human more carefully. Her species had been traveling between stars when humans were still living in caves. Yet there was wisdom in Laura's words. The Astrians had lost something in their advancement, the wonder of mystery. Perhaps that is why my people have come. Laura, the human, said quietly. We have much to share with your world technology and knowledge beyond your current science. But I believe your people have something we need as well. What could humans possibly offer beings who had mastered interstellar travel? Laura asked. Vora smiled, a gesture she had practiced knowing humans communicated much through facial expressions. You still look up at the stars with hope. Captain Laura Bennett. My people have not done that for 10,000 years. The night grew deeper around them as human and alien stood in silence, looking at the ancient light of distant suns, each seeing the same sky through very different eyes, yet finding unexpected common ground in the darkness. The first official meeting between human representatives and Vora took place in a large conference room. Morning light streamed through the windows as world leaders gathered either in person or through secure video connections. Laura sat beside Vora at the main table, feeling strangely protective of the alien visitor. Vora observed the humans with interest. Their emotions were so visible in their expressions and body language. She could sense fear, caution, and excitement radiating from them. Her own people had evolved beyond such obvious displays of feeling, finding it more efficient to communicate directly and clearly. But there was something refreshing about human honesty. Even when they attempted to hide their thoughts, their bodies revealed the truth. The meeting began with formal introductions. Vora listened as each human stated their name and position. She responded with a brief history of the Astrian people, careful not to overwhelm them with the full scope of her civilization's advancement. We have watched Earth for several centuries, Vora explained. We observed your development from primitive technology to your first steps into space. Our policy is non-interference until a species reaches certain milestones. You have now achieved those milestones. The room fell silent as humans processed this information. Their world had been watched for hundreds of years without their knowledge. Why reveal yourselves now? Asked the representative from India. Vora turned, her color shifting, eyes toward the woman. Your planet faces challenges that threaten your survival. Climate instability, resource depletion, political division. These are common growing pains for young species. We can offer guidance based on our experience with similar transitions. The meeting continued for hours as humans asked questions about Astrian technology, culture, and intentions. Laura noticed that Vora answered each question with patience, never showing frustration at repeated inquiries or simple misunderstandings. She wondered if all Astrians were so diplomatic or if Vora had been chosen specifically for her temperament. When the formal discussions ended, Laura escorted Vora back to her quarters. The alien seemed tired, though it was difficult to read her expressions. Are you all right, Ambassador? Laura asked as they walked. Vora nodded, a human gesture she had adopted. I am simply adjusting to the emotional intensity of your species. When many humans gather their feelings, create patterns that affect my senses, it is not unpleasant, merely unfamiliar. Laura frowned. I didn't realize we were causing you discomfort. It is not discomfort. Vora clarified. It is more like hearing music where before there was silence. My people communicate with precision, but without the color of emotion your kind naturally expresses. It is actually quite beautiful. Laura felt unexpectedly touched by this observation. She had never considered human emotions as beautiful, often seeing them as messy and problematic. Yet this advanced being from across the stars found value in something humans took for granted. The next day, Vora requested to see more of Earth beyond the facility Laura was assigned as her guide. They traveled by helicopter to avoid crowds to a national park where Vora could experience Earth wilderness firsthand. The forest stretched before them, ancient trees reaching toward the sky. Birds called in the distance and sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating patterns on the ground. Vora stood, motionless, her silver skin reflecting the green surroundings. "It reminds me of the ancient forests on my homeworld," Vora said softly. "We preserved small areas, but much was converted to more efficient use thousands of years ago." She knelt to touch a wildflower growing beside the path. "The diversity of life on your planet is remarkable. Laura Bennett, you must fight to preserve it." Laura watched as the alien gently examined the flower. There was something deeply moving about seeing this being from another world showing such care for Earth nature. "Is your world very different now?" Vora stood. "Our cities span entire continents. Technology sustains us, and we have no need for what you would call agriculture or natural resources. We learned to create what we need without taking from our environment. But in the process, we lost something of our connection to our origins." They walked deeper into the forest, Laura pointing out different plants and animals. Vora listened, absorbing everything. With intense interest, when they reached a small clearing beside a stream, Vora asked if they could rest. Laura agreed, and they sat on fallen logs, the sound of running water filling the silence. "May I ask you something personal?" Ambassador Laura ventured. Vora turned to her. "Please call me Vora when we are not in formal settings, and yes, you may ask." Laura hesitated, then said, "You travel between stars, seeing wonders humans can only dream about. Yet you seem fascinated by simple things like flowers and streams. Why is that?" Vora was quiet for a moment, considering her answer. When a species masters space travel, they often believe they have mastered everything. They build artificial worlds, perfect and controlled. But perfection lacks something essential: unpredictability. The random beauty of a flower growing where no one planted it. The sound of water finding its own path. These things cannot be designed, only discovered. My people forgot this wisdom. Long ago, Laura thought about Earth's rush toward technological advancement, how humans often destroyed natural beauty in the name of progress. She wondered if her kind was heading down the same path. Would your people want to prevent us from advancing to avoid our making the same mistakes? Laura asked. Vora shook her head, another human gesture she had adopted. We do not believe in preventing natural development. Each species must find their own way, but perhaps by showing you our journey you might choose a different path, one that preserves what makes humans unique, while still reaching for the stars. As they walked back toward the helicopter, Laura realized something important was happening between their worlds. The Astrians had not come merely to share technology. They had come seeking something only humans could offer: the fresh perspective of a young species still connected to their origins. It was an exchange, not charity. That night, Laura found Vora once again on the rooftop, looking at the stars. The alien turned as Laura approached, her silver skin glowing softly in the darkness. I have been authorized to show you something, Laura Bennett, Vora said. Would you like to see the stars as my people? See them. Laura nodded, not knowing what to expect. Vora reached out and gently placed her long fingers against Laura's temples. The human gasped as her vision suddenly expanded. The night sky transformed. Each star became a detailed world with planets and moons visible in perfect clarity. Galaxies spiraled in magnificent color. Cosmic phenomena danced across the universe. This is how we see, Vora whispered. This is what we know. For one breathtaking moment, Laura experienced the universe through Astrian senses. The vastness, the beauty, the infinite possibilities. When Vora removed her hands, tears streaked down Laura's face, overwhelmed by what she had witnessed. No human has ever seen that, Laura whispered. Why show me? Because tomorrow we offer Earth membership in the Galactic Communion. Vora replied, I wanted one human to understand what that truly means. Not just technology or knowledge, but a new way of seeing everything. News of the Galactic Communion offer spread across Earth like wildfire. People gathered in home streets and public spaces to discuss what this meant for humanity. Some celebrated the opportunity to join an interstellar community, while others feared losing human identity and independence. Laura found herself at the center of increasingly heated debates, as one of the few humans who had spent significant time with Vora. The Australian remained calm throughout the chaos, answering questions from world leaders with patience. Her presence on Earth had already begun changing human society. Satellite images of her ship were studied by scientists, leading to new theories about propulsion and materials. Religious groups debated the theological implications of advanced alien life. Ordinary people wondered how their daily lives might change. 3 days after the offer was extended, Laura took Vora to meet her family. It was an unusual request, but the ambassador had expressed interest in understanding human social structures. The small house in the countryside belonged to Laura's sister Diane, who lived there with her husband and 2 children. When they arrived, Diane's children, Mary and Sam, aged 10 and 8, stared at Vora with undisguised wonder. The alien towered over them, her silver skin catching the afternoon sunlight. "Are you really from another planet?" Mary asked before her mother could stop her. Vora knelt to meet the child's eyes. "I am. I come from a world circling a star you cannot see." "From Earth, can you do magic?" Sam asked. His mother looked embarrassed, but Vora simply smiled. "What appears as magic is often science not yet understood," Vora replied. She held out her hand, palm up, and suddenly a small globe of light appeared floating. Above her fingers it spun slowly, revealing continents and oceans of a world unknown to humans. "This is my homeworld." The children gasped, watching the miniature planet rotate. Diane and her husband exchanged nervous glances, but Laura reassured them. With a nod, "It's safe. It's just a projection. Vora can create images from her memories." The family dinner that followed was awkward at first. Vora did not eat human food, explaining that her people absorbed energy differently. But she sat at the table, participating in conversation, learning about human family dynamics. The children quickly overcame their shyness, asking endless questions about space travel and alien worlds. Vora answered each inquiry with the same respect she showed world leaders after dinner. Laura found Vora standing in the garden looking at the sunset. The alien seemed deep in thought. "Is everything all right?" Laura asked. Joining her, Vora turned her color-shifting eyes reflecting the orange and pink sky. "Your sister fears for her children's future because of our arrival." Laura was surprised. Diane had always been protective of her family. "Yes, many parents feel that way. They worry about change." Vora nodded. "It is the same across all species. The desire to protect offspring." They paused, watching as Diane called the children inside for bedtime. "Such family units no longer exist among my people." This surprised Laura. "What do you mean?" "How do Astrians raise children? We do not reproduce as you do." Vora explained. "Our population is carefully maintained through artificial means. New Astrians are grown with selected genetic traits and raised communally. We have not had traditional families for thousands of years. It was deemed inefficient." Laura tried to imagine a society without families, without the chaos and love of parent-child relationships. The concept felt alien in a way Vora's appearance never had. "Is that better?" Vora considered the question. "I cannot say if it is better. It simply is our way. But watching your sister with her children, I observe something my people may have sacrificed in our pursuit of advancement. Connection. The random, beautiful chaos of natural family bonds." They stood in silence, watching stars appear in the darkening sky. Laura thought about what Earth might become if they joined the Galactic Communion. Would humans eventually follow the same path as the Astrians, gaining the universe, but losing something essential about themselves? The next morning, as they prepared to return to the facility, news arrived that changed everything. A group calling themselves Earth First had attacked the landing site where Vora's ship was docked. Security forces had prevented serious damage, but the message was clear. Not all humans welcomed alien contact. Laura rushed Vora back to the facility, finding it surrounded by increased security. The alien showed no fear as they passed through multiple checkpoints. Her expression remained calm, though Laura noticed her silver skin had dimmed. "Slightly, I apologize for this," Laura said once they were safely inside. "You come offering friendship, and this is how some respond." Vora placed a gentle hand on Laura's shoulder. "It is an expected response." Laura Bennett. "Fear of the unknown is natural, especially when change comes suddenly. We have seen this pattern on hundreds of worlds. The transition is never smooth." Laura marveled at Vora's understanding. Most humans would be angry or frightened after such an attack, yet the alien showed only compassion. "I still feel ashamed. Do not judge your species by its most fearful members," Vora said. "Every civilization has those who resist change. They serve a purpose, forcing careful consideration before action. If everyone immediately accepted our presence without question, that would concern me more. It would suggest a lack of critical thinking." A meeting was called to discuss security concerns. Laura sat beside Vora, listening as military officials outlined new protection measures. The alien ambassador listened calmly to their plans, then addressed the room. "I appreciate your concern for my safety, but increased military presence will only escalate tensions." Vora stated, "I suggest instead that we increase communication. Open your broadcasts. Allow me to speak directly to your people. Answer their questions honestly. Fears grow in darkness, not light." The officials exchanged skeptical glances, but Laura supported Vora's suggestion. "She is right. Fear comes from misunderstanding. Let people see and hear her for themselves." The decision was made to hold a global broadcast where people around the world could submit questions for Vora to answer. Laura would moderate the event. It was scheduled for the following day, giving little time for preparation. That night, Laura found Vora in her quarters reviewing human history. The alien had requested access to Earth historical records to better understand human reactions to major changes. "You should rest," Laura advised. "Tomorrow will be challenging." Vora looked up from the display. "Your people have survived remarkable hardships, Laura Bennett, wars, diseases, natural disasters. Yet you continue to hope and build and dream. It is your most admirable quality." Laura sat across from the alien. "Do you think Earth will join the communion?" "I cannot predict the outcome," Vora replied. "Some worlds accept membership immediately. Others take generations to decide. Some choose to remain independent. There is no correct choice, only different paths." "What would you choose if you were human?" Laura asked. Vora was silent for a long moment, her eyes shifting through colors like a living aurora. "I would choose knowledge, but not at the cost of what makes humans unique. Your art, your music, your families, your connection to your world. These things have value beyond measurement. I would seek balance, a way to advance while preserving what makes your species special." Laura nodded, feeling a deeper connection to this alien being than she had expected when first assigned to this position. "What makes humans special?" Vora. "In your view," the alien considered, then spoke softly. "You look at the universe with new eyes." Laura Bennett. "My people have seen so much for so long that wonder has become rare among us. But humans, you still marvel at simple sunsets. You weep at music. You laugh with your children. You fight for ideas and dreams. You love with your whole beings. Such intensity of experience is precious. Do not lose it in pursuit of advancement." The broadcast the next day would reach billions. But in that quiet moment, Laura felt she understood the true reason the Astrians had come. Not just to offer technology or membership in some cosmic alliance, but because they recognized in humanity something they had lost, something worth preserving even as humans reached for the stars. The global broadcast began at noon Coordinated Universal Time. Vora sat beside Laura in a simple studio, designed to appear neutral and non-threatening. Billions of humans watched as the silver alien addressed them directly for the first time. "People of Earth," Vora began, her voice musical even through translation devices. "I come from the stars, but today I speak to you as a friend. Your world stands at a crossroads. One. My people passed long ago. I offer not instructions, but possibilities. The choice of path remains yours as it should. Questions poured in from around the world. Laura selected them, trying to represent diverse viewpoints. The first came from a teacher in Kenya. How would joining the Galactic Communion affect our educational systems? Would our children learn about the universe instead of just our planet? Vora nodded, appreciating the question. Knowledge would be shared, but at your chosen pace. We believe in cultural sovereignty. Each world determines how information is integrated. Education is the foundation of society and must reflect your values while expanding horizons. A factory worker from Brazil asked if human jobs would disappear with advanced technology. Technology should serve people, not replace them. Vora answered, when properly implemented, new capabilities create new opportunities. My people went through similar transitions. We found balance by asking, not what work can machines do, but what work should only humans do. Questions continued for hours. Vora addressing concerns about health, environment, resources, governance, and culture. Laura watched as the aliens' calm, thoughtful responses gradually shifted the global mood from fear toward cautious optimism. Near the broadcast's end, a final question appeared from an anonymous source. What do the Astrians truly want from Earth? No advanced civilization offers gifts without expecting something in return. What is the price of joining your communion? Laura hesitated, but Vora gestured that she would answer. A wise question. Vora responded directly to the camera. The universe operates on exchange, not charity. You are right to seek the full truth. The Astrians and other advanced species in the communion have gained much, but lost something precious along our journey. We have achieved near immortality through technology, mastered energy creation, eliminated scarcity and disease. We have answers to questions your scientists have not yet asked, but we have lost perspective. The fresh eyes that see wonder in a night sky, the hearts that feel deeply without filters, the minds that make intuitive leaps without perfect information. What we seek from humanity is renewal, a reminder of what we once were. The fire of being young among the stars is something no technology can recreate. We offer knowledge. Yes, but we hope to receive inspiration. The broadcast ended. Laura turned to Vora, noting that the alien seemed tired, a state she had not witnessed before. The constant communication had taken its toll. Even on the advanced being, you should rest. Laura suggested they left the studio through a private exit, avoiding the crowds of reporters and onlookers. I must prepare for tomorrow. Vora replied. Tomorrow? I must show them what Laura asked. The final truth, Laura Bennett. Vora said softly. What humanity truly offers the stars. The next morning, a select group gathered at a remote location. Heads of state, scientists, religious leaders, and cultural representatives had been chosen to witness what Vora called communion revelation. Laura stood among them, feeling both privileged and nervous. Vora had been mysterious about what would happen, saying only that seeing was necessary for true understanding. The alien arrived wearing different garments than before. These robes shimmered with their own light patterns flowing across the fabric like living constellations. She carried a small device resembling a crystal sphere. Honored witnesses, Vora addressed the group. What I share today has been shown to only 17 species in the history of the Galactic Communion. It is not technology or knowledge, but perspective. The true gift we offer and the true price we ask. She placed the crystal sphere on the ground and stepped back. The air around, it began to shimmer like heat waves rising from desert sand. Then suddenly the sphere expanded, not physically, but energetically, creating a dome of light that encompassed the entire group. Laura gasped as the world around them vanished, replaced by a view of Earth from orbit. The blue planet rotated slowly below them, stars visible beyond. Yet this was no simple projection. They could feel the vastness of space, the silence, the perspective that only astronauts had experienced. Then the view shifted, zooming outward, Earth becoming smaller, the solar system visible, then the arm of the Milky Way galaxy, then further still until the galaxy itself was but one light among many. The universe expanded around them. Countless galaxies, stars, and worlds, beyond imagination. The true scale of existence. Laura heard Vora's voice, though the alien now appeared as pure light among them. This is reality. The perspective shifted again, focusing now on a single world, unlike Earth. Crystal cities covered continents, oceans glowed with bioluminescence, multiple moons orbited overhead. My homeworld, Vora explained. Then we see what was before. The scene changed, showing the same planet but different forests covered the land. Oceans were blue, not glowing. Beings similar to Vora but less evolved lived in harmony with their environment. We advanced, Laura. We conquered illness, poverty, conflict, limitations, but we lost connection. The perspective that comes from being mortal and vulnerable, the vision shifted rapidly, showing hundreds of worlds, various species, all following similar paths from nature to technology, from limitation to mastery, each gaining power but losing something essential in the process. The communion was formed not just to share knowledge, but to preserve. The spark, Vora continued. That quality unique to young species who still feel deeply, still wonder, still fear, still hope. We seek not to change humanity, but to learn from you, even as you learn from us. Exchange, not domination. The vision faded, the crystal sphere returning to normal size. The group stood in silence, many weeping or holding each other. Laura felt forever changed by what she had witnessed. The true scale of existence, the perspective of ages, the balance of advancement and preservation. Vora approached Laura while others were still processing the experience. You understand now why I showed you the stars that night? Laura nodded. I do. You need us as much as we might need you. Perhaps more. Vora admitted. The oldest species can forget the most fundamental truths. That life is precious because it is limited. That beauty matters beyond function. That connection matters beyond efficiency. That wonder keeps the spirit alive. In the days that followed, Earth, leaders debated the communion. Offer. Vora remained available, answering questions but never pressuring for a decision. The alien understood that such choices required time. Scientists examined the limited technology Vora had shared, finding principles that would advance human knowledge by centuries if properly studied. Laura continued as liaison between Vora and humanity, their friendship deepening through shared experiences. One evening as they walked along a beach watching the sunset, Vora stopped, suddenly looking out over the water. What will you do if Earth declines the offer? Laura asked the question that had been on her mind. Vora turned her color, shifting eyes reflecting the golden light of sunset. We will accept your choice without judgment. Some worlds are not ready. Others choose different paths. The universe allows for many journeys. And if we accept, then I would remain as guide. Laura Bennett. Vora replied. The transition takes generations, not years. Communion is not a destination, but a process, a sharing. Across worlds and species, Laura picked up a seashell from the sand, examining its perfect spiral pattern. I think humanity will accept, but we will need help to avoid losing ourselves in the process. To keep our wonder even as we gain knowledge. Vora nodded. That is why I requested you specifically as my permanent liaison. You understand both the value of advancement and the importance of preservation. Your balance is what humanity needs. Laura looked up, surprised. I was specifically chosen, I thought. It was random assignment. The alien made a sound like gentle wind chimes, her version of laughter. Random. Laura Bennett. The Astrians have observed Earth for centuries. We know its people, their strengths, their qualities. You were chosen because you represent the best of humanity. Curiosity tempered with caution. Hope balanced with realism. Advancement without sacrificing connection. They stood together, watching the sun sink below the horizon. One being from the ancient stars, another from a young world, both understanding that the greatest journeys require not just new destinations, but preservation of what makes the journey meaningful. 1 month after Vora's arrival on Earth, the United Nations convened to vote on the communion offer. Representatives from every nation gathered in New York. With billions watching worldwide, Laura sat beside Vora in the gallery as speeches were made, arguments presented, and concerns addressed. The debate lasted for days with passionate advocates on both sides. The final vote was not unanimous, but the decision was clear. Earth would accept membership in the Galactic Communion with conditions. Humanity would adopt new knowledge at its own pace. Cultural sovereignty would be maintained. Earth would not abandon its unique development to simply mimic older species. When the decision was announced, celebrations erupted around the world. In major cities, people gathered to look up at the stars, their perspective forever changed by knowing what waited beyond. Even those who had opposed the decision recognized the historic significance of the moment. Humanity had officially joined the Galactic Community for Vora and Laura. The real work was just beginning. The transition would require decades of careful guidance. The first phase would focus on environmental restoration using communion technology to address climate instability and pollution. The second phase would introduce medical advancements eliminating the most devastating diseases. The third phase would transform energy systems ending dependence on limited resources. Each step designed to improve human life without fundamentally changing human nature. 5 years passed. Vora remained on Earth working closely with Laura to oversee the transition. The changes were gradual but significant. Renewable energy systems based on communion designs now powered most major cities. Cancer and other, previously terminal illnesses had become treatable. Ocean cleanup initiatives had removed vast amounts of plastic pollution. Global cooperation had replaced much of the old political rivalries. Though human nature ensured that disagreements still occurred, Laura had been named Director of Communion Relations, overseeing the exchange of knowledge and culture between Earth and other worlds. Her life had transformed from military officer to one of the most important diplomatic positions in humans' history. Yet through it all, she remained grounded, often returning to her sister's home to spend time with her niece and nephew. Now teenagers fascinated by stories of other worlds, Vora had changed too. Living among humans had affected the alien in unexpected ways. She had developed preferences for certain foods, though she did not require them for sustenance. She enjoyed human music, finding particular resonance with classical compositions. She had even adopted some human gestures and expressions, her formerly perfect diplomatic neutrality softened by human spontaneity. On the 5th anniversary of Earth's acceptance into the Communion, Laura invited Vora to her small apartment overlooking the Pacific Ocean. The alien arrived as sunset painted the sky in brilliant colors. A bottle of wine waited on the table, though Vora would only taste it, not consume it. 5 years, Laura said, raising her glass. The beginning of a journey that will outlast us both. Vora touched her glass to Laura's and Earth, custom she had embraced. The shortest of beginnings in cosmic terms, yet significant beyond measure. They moved to the balcony, watching the stars appear one by one. Laura noticed that she now viewed the night sky differently, knowing which stars had inhabited worlds circling them, which civilizations existed in distant galaxies. Knowledge had not diminished wonder, but transformed it. The Astrian Council has sent a message, Vora said, breaking the comfortable silence. They are pleased with Earth's progress. The integration has proceeded faster than predicted, Laura smiled. Humans are adaptable, it's our greatest strength. Vora nodded, her silver skin reflecting the last light of day. There is something else. The Council has approved my request. Laura turned curious. What request? Vora faced her fully color-shifting eyes reflecting starlight. I have requested permanent assignment to Earth. Laura Bennett. Not for decades, but for my lifetime. Laura stared at the alien, surprised. Such a commitment would span hundreds of human years, as Astrians lived far longer than humans. Why would you choose that? Vora was silent for a moment, gathering thoughts in the careful way of her people. In my centuries of existence, I have visited 1,412 worlds. I have witnessed the birth of stars and the death of civilizations. I have seen wonders beyond human imagination. Yet in 5 years on Earth, I have experienced something new. Something my people had forgotten. What Laura's voice was. Soft, how to see with fresh eyes, Vora replied. To experience rather than merely observe. to connect rather than merely understand. My people advanced beyond emotion, beyond attachment, beyond the messiness of feeling, but living among humans. I have rediscovered these things I wish to remain to continue learning what you teach without realizing you are teaching. Laura felt unexpectedly moved by this confession from a being who had seen the universe. Do you miss your homeworld? Sometimes Vora admitted, but it will remain when I eventually return. Earth is changing quickly in cosmic terms. These years of transition are unique. I wish to witness them completely, to be part of them. They stood in companionable silence, watching the night deepen. Laura realized that their friendship represented the best of what the communion offered. Not just technology or knowledge, but connection across the vastness of space and difference. True exchange between worlds. The following week, a ceremony marked the beginning of the second phase of transition. Vora, standing beside world leaders as new medical technologies were introduced. Laura watched from nearby, seeing both the alien ambassador and the friend who had changed her understanding of humanity's place in the universe later. As they walked through a park near the ceremony site, children played nearby, some using small devices that helped them visualize microscopic life in the pond water. Educational tools based on communion technology, but adapted for human learning styles. They will grow up in a different world than you did, Laura Bennett. Vora observed. These children will never know a time before awareness of other worlds. How will that shape them? Laura watched the children, their excitement as they discovered invisible life forms through the devices. Their wonder remained intact despite advanced technology. It's our responsibility to ensure they don't lose what makes them human: their creativity, their emotion, their connection to Earth. Vora nodded. The balance we seek to maintain. A child noticed them and approached, eyes wide with curiosity. She looked about 7 years old with curly hair and bright eyes. Are you the Star Lady? She asked Vora. My teacher showed us pictures of you. Vora knelt to meet the child's gaze. I am from the stars, yes. The girl studied the alien with open fascination. Do you miss your home? Vora smiled, a gesture she had perfected over 5 years among humans. Sometimes. But Earth has become my second home. The child's mother called her back, apologizing for the interruption. But Vora reassured her. Questions from the young are never interruptions. They are the most important questions of all. As they continued their walk, Laura considered how much had changed in 5 years and how much remained the same. Despite advanced technology, children still played in parks. People still fell in love, argued about politics, created art, celebrated birthdays. The human spirit remained intact. Even as human capability expanded, that evening news arrived that the first human delegation would be permitted to visit the Astrian homeworld. A group of scientists, artists, and diplomats would journey across the stars to experience what no human had seen before Laura had been selected. To lead the delegation, will you come with us? She asked Vora as they discussed the journey. Return home for a while. Vora considered the question. I will accompany you. But Earth is now also home to me. I have realized something important in my time. Here, Laura Bennett, home is not merely where one originates, but where one chooses to be, where connection exists, where purpose is found. Laura understood. For all the wonders the communion offered, the greatest gift was perspective. The understanding that across the vastness of space, beings could find common ground, connection transcending biology and origins. The stars had always beckoned humanity with their distant light, but now humans knew they were not merely reaching for the unknown. They were reaching toward others who had been reaching back all along. As night fell across Earth, millions looked up at the stars with new understanding. The journey had just begun. Humanity taking its first steps into a larger community while holding tight to the qualities that made them uniquely human. Their wonder, their passion, their connection, their hope. The very things that had caught the attention of ancient eyes watching from across the cosmos. The spark that even the most advanced beings recognized as precious, worth crossing galaxies to find. Vora stood beside Laura, watching the same stars, her silver skin glowing softly in the darkness. Two beings from different worlds united by something more powerful than technology or knowledge. Understanding friendship connection. The true communion that made the universe not just a place of endless space but a community of shared wonder.